1. So this might be a little scattered, as I've been kind of frantic these past few days trying to figure out what to do. My sister, 29, and I, 22-year-old woman, have been living in a 3-bed, 2-bath for a year now. Our mother used to live with us, but moved out at the beginning of the year. Our lease renewed this month, August, and we were originally looking at 2-bed, 2-baths to move, as we didn't need the extra room and it'd be a bit cheaper. In late June, when we were getting ready to decide on a new apartment, a mutual friend, 20-year-old woman, reached out asking if I knew anyone needing a roommate, and I said, hey, why not? Considering she had claimed her current ones were crazy, and she needed to get away because she didn't feel comfortable living with them, and was basically staying at her boyfriend's. I didn't know her too well, but my friends did, and they all said it would be a great idea. I laid out some ground rules such as clean up after yourself, help with chores, pretty much just taking turns taking trash out, keeping the house clean. Give us a heads up before inviting people over that we don't know. Pay rent on time. Don't let the cat outside. Basic rules that you'd totally believe to be reasonable and easily followed, right? Well, after I went over all of that, she asks if her sister, either 18 or 19, could come stay with us, only for a couple of months. This is where I made the first mistake. I didn't want to say no. I didn't want to leave her sister on her own on the streets, so I said yes, as long as she abides by those rules. I'd now be sharing a bathroom with 2 other people at this point, and I specifically work hard to keep it clean because the shower is not grouted properly, and the landlord has not yet done anything about it. I deep cleaned the house, sent them videos and photos of the room, which I'm glad I saved now, lent them some old furniture, and even gave them a free month of rent. They move in the first week of July, and immediately after moving in, I ask to come into the room just to chat, and they're doing drugs with the main roommate's boyfriend. I'm not going to include what they were doing to try and keep this as anonymous as possible, because I'm not sure if they're on YouTube or Reddit, but it kind of freaked me out as someone who is sober, and seeing someone doing drugs in a house that isn't even entirely theirs because they still aren't on the lease. I told them, hey, don't bring anything of that sort into this house. I don't care what they do outside the house, but I want it to be a drug-free home. Weed is fine considering my sister has a medical card and smokes, and I honestly didn't say in the rules because I didn't think I'd need to say that. They said it was a one-time thing to celebrate moving in, and continued all night, even when saying to please respect us and not continue. The main roommate had also told me the same day that her sister was actually staying until the end of October, not the couple of months she had stated before. Fast forward to now. They don't really do their dishes, at least for a couple of days. Anytime I've gone into the room, it's very messy, and nothing is actually unpacked, despite the sister not working very often and being home a lot of the time. They leave hair all over the bathroom sink and in the shower drain that I have to pull out. I clean mine out after every shower. The bathroom trash is overflowing, there's tampons and applicators on the floor around it. They haven't taken out the trash and don't clean up after themselves. There's boxes downstairs that they haven't done anything with in the past month. The main roommate has not even spent a single night here, as she spends all her time at her boyfriend's, only comes back to grab clothes every 3 days or so. And I voiced my concerns and asked them to pick up after themselves and do their dishes, but after the first mention of anything, which was dishes, they don't reply, and nothing happens. They're not on the lease, and I don't even want them in the house anymore. I've heard from friends that the main roommate has been high all the time and is going down a dark path, so we're planning an intervention, but honestly, I just want to ask them to leave. The kicker. I've talked to their old roommates, and they did the exact same thing at that place. They did not escape or leave of their own accord. They were kicked out for the very things they are doing now, plus not paying or wanting to pay rent. It actually took them a while because They were very avoidant and didn't want to even sit and have a talk with them. They left their old place a mess and even damaged it. The old roommates actually didn't want to tell me anything about it because it was in the past and I don't want to bring up any issues. Until I told them I was their new roommate, to which they replied, "I'm so sorry." I know that there could very well be two sides to this issue, but I'm more inclined to believe the people that dealt with the same thing I'm dealing with now, rather than someone saying their old roommates were crazy, without any real claims to back that up. Mini update. I haven't gone through the motions yet, working on getting cameras. My mom has a few extras she's giving us tomorrow. She has some set up in her house. To keep an eye on my grandma, they connect directly to your phone and also have night vision. I did finally get an answer back privately from the main roommate after another text was sent from my sister to the group chat, requesting that everyone pulls their weight when it comes to cleanliness. She put it way better than I would have, to be honest, saying that she will talk to her sister tomorrow and is picking her up to take her to work, and will talk to her then. She said if things don't improve in the next 2 weeks, then she'll drop her off at her mom's house out of town. Her reason for her sister being here is due to her parents being homeless, so I don't even understand anymore. I'll give them the benefit of the doubt for those 2 weeks, but will be installing cameras and the Ring doorbell as well, especially since I have found out through a mutual friend that her sister has been having people over without my knowledge while my sister and I are at work. Which would not be a big problem if she would just give us a heads up, instead of being sneaky about it. No, I do not know these people she's having over. Update. So, they have been smoking cigarettes in the house, then playing stupid when I confront them. Their cat's litter box is overflowing and smells like ammonia. Mutual friends are pretty sure they're doing harder drugs than what I've caught them with. Nothing has changed for them when they've told me to give them 2 weeks to get better. It's only been almost a week. I've had to pick up their tampon applicators and panty liners off the bathroom floor. It is so gross. They're 19 and 20. I've put cameras up, and I'm watching to make sure they don't bring anyone inside the house. I just do not know how to get them both in the house at the same time, or how to really stand my ground. I also feel defeated at this point. I don't know how to go about all this. Any advice anyone has would be greatly appreciated and needed. Update 2. Nothing has changed. Last week I got into it with one of them for their room stinking so badly of cat poop and pee. It smells so bad in the hallway too. They left their cat alone for 24 hours without food, resulting in me having to go feed it because I felt bad. Main roommate blamed it on her sister and said she'd be taking her sister to her mom's ASAP. She told me her parents were homeless and that's why her sister had to stay with us. Sister is still in the house. Main roommate has not been in the house at all. They keep leaving the door unlocked overnight and during the day, and it really freaks me out because we live next to a not-so-good neighborhood. The room is still a mess. Only thing that has changed is the roommate's sister has started washing her dishes, but of course never puts them away. I've texted twice now, asking to just have a conversation, and have been ignored. Now, I would just throw their stuff out and change the locks, but we live in an HOA with nosy neighbors. That action would immediately result in a violation and would get back to the landlord. I do not know what to do if they just keep ignoring me. I'm trying to do this in a more low-key way due to the circumstances. Could anyone give me ideas? Update 3. I had a talk with the main roommate on Saturday. I had planned to kick them out, but this conversation was bizarre start to finish. She had blamed everything on her sister and didn't take any responsibility for her actions. Sure, she was never home, but she is ultimately the one paying for the room, and it is her responsibility to make sure her cat is okay and the room is okay. Her sister is doing her own duties. I feel also falls under that umbrella, considering she's the one who moved her in. Her sister wouldn't answer the phone, so she called their mother, and she was so angry. She started yelling at her to take more responsibility, stop spending all her time at her boyfriend's place, that the cat is her responsibility and nobody else's. Basically all good and valid points, and she still didn't seem to acknowledge it. At least, in the moment. That night, I went to a social event where I had multiple people coming up to me and telling me things about these people. Mostly all starting out with, "I'm so sorry." I got so upset and overstimulated about the situation that I ended up having my boyfriend pick me up early. We agreed to have another conversation today. I typed up and printed a document at work today, which is a list of things they've done mixed with an eviction notice. I got home and waited for them to come out of the room to have the conversation. 45 minutes after the set time, they text the group chat asking if we still want to have the conversation, and I reply that I'm waiting on them. We go downstairs and they just said they'll be out by Friday, which was such a relief that I didn't have to push or even ask again, really. I'm so relieved. It seems they're being really mature about this situation. Final update. Hey guys, they have moved out. They're gone. Main roommate came by today to clean, thankfully, and gave me the keys. They were keeping drugs in that room for sure, as I watched them move out yesterday and saw what they had in their hands. I also had walked in that room yesterday, and there was trash piled everywhere. I guess main roommate's sister was angry she had to move states and about the things I told her long-distance fiancé, and didn't pack anything and left piles of trash everywhere. Mostly take-out trash and water bottles. Main roommate was pretty respectful about everything, which I'm very glad about. I did take off work yesterday to supervise, and she came to move after I would have gotten home from work, which annoyed me. I lost money due to her carelessness, but oh well. The cat is with one of their family friends, as I was told, and she agrees she's not stable enough to take care of it. This is the third animal she's given to a friend in the past 3 or 4 years because of this reason. I hope she doesn't get another. I'm such an animal lover, and I hate to see animals bond to someone who can't take proper care of them, then get discarded. It truly hurts my heart. The whole situation happened around the 1-year anniversary of my dog's death. I had him for 16 years, and having to see this poor cat get neglected really hit hard, as I would do anything to bring my boy back. And these people didn't care about theirs. I hope he's happy and being well taken care of. I have an option for a future roommate already, known her for almost 10 years and we're very close. She's very clean, stable, and doesn't do drugs. She was my first option for a roommate, but she had plans to move in with a coworker, but those plans have fallen through in the past couple of months. So I hope she'll consider moving in. Bills and rent being split 3 ways would be so much better for my sister and I. 2. I am a mixed 18-year-old female who just graduated high school. I will explain later about why I included mixed. My last year of high school, I just got accepted to the university I applied for, and picking roommates were about to be due. I only have one friend that is going to the same university as me, but he's a boy, so we can't room together. Which is why I had to do this test that matches what 2 people want in a roommate, to which they use to pick from. Remember that, it's very important. When doing the test, I put that I wanted someone clean and that doesn't smoke. I'm a girl who doesn't do parties and mainly focuses on just school. I find drinking and doing drugs cringe, since it's just harming more than helping. Which is why, when I took the test, I put that down specifically. It took a few months for roommates to be assigned. When they were in, I immediately emailed my roommate my social contacts to let her know I don't want things to be awkward and we should hang out over the summer so we know each other. So, after I clarified that, we hung out a bit after. We found out we lived 10 minutes apart. It was really fun, and she even offered to drive me home with her on the weekends. I let her know I don't have a license. Her name is Sarah. When move-in dates came, I moved in 2 days before her, but went back home to spend a little time I had left with my family. My friend, the guy, Tony, moved in 4 days later for me, so we made plans for him to drive me up there with him, and I'll help him unpack. So when I came back, Sarah has been there 2 days alone and wanted to know where I was. I found it a little weird since she started tracking my location by sending frequent texts, but just decided to brush it off. When we got there, I texted her back that I was helping a friend unpack, but I needed to drop stuff off at my dorm. I did just that, and she stuck to my side, following me to my other friend's room. I asked him if it was okay if she came in, and he said yes, wanting to get to know her since she was my roommate and my friend. He started unpacking, and I asked again if it was okay for me to help him unpack. I know he said so before, but I wanted to make sure, since it's his stuff, and wanted to respect his boundaries. He told me yes. But when I turned around, Sarah started unpacking his stuff. She was just going around the room and putting it where she wanted, which I found very rude. I looked at my friend and he didn't say anything, but I didn't either. I know some people have different versions of normal, so I guess we both thought that. But the weird thing was, she went through his underwear and started putting them up. At that time, we wanted to say something but didn't want to hurt her feelings. After we finished packing his stuff, she sat on his bed and started vaping. My friend and I don't do any drugs, drink, or smoke at all, so it caught us off guard, but we still didn't say anything. After we got done, we all went to the dining hall to eat. When we got there, Sarah made comments about the people around us, things about how they looked, their weight, and if they got up for a second plate. That's the first indication to me that she was mean, which made me hesitant to say anything. I'm not being cocky by any means, but I'm a great judge on how people will act if I get a good grasp on their personality. And from what I have seen, she's a real mean girl who loves to gossip, so I know when I say something, something's gonna happen. I'm gonna skip down and just tell the thing she did. We live in a suite and have suite mates because we share a bathroom. She talks about them behind their back, but recently they started to hang out, to which they became friends. The switch up was so fast it's scary. I don't hang out with them since Sarah stays in the dorm 24/7, and I wanted some privacy, so I would always decline. I have a fan on top of my dresser near my loft bed. It's very high, and the only way my fan can be reached is climbing the ladder on my bed and getting on my bed to move it. So she has been climbing on my bed and moving my fan without asking. She takes my food that my grandparents and parents bought. By any means, we're not rich and live paycheck to paycheck. It's a miracle I'm in college, and eats it. She said she didn't, but I went in the trash and saw it. I have my own trash can she took and used without my permission. She moves my things without permission. She also took my command hooks from my third drawer and used them without permission. She treats my friend like trash. She talks about him and mocks him for his country accent, while making me walk to the dining hall, a 12-minute walk, which makes me use a meal swipe that has a set number for how many times I can eat to get water. We have a sink in our room and a kitchen on our floor that's outside our room. She says that she doesn't drink sink water and gets mad when I say that the dining hall water is from the sink. She also makes a comment about black people. She is mixed, also, but has a lighter complexion than me. That makes me uncomfortable. Like if she sees a group and says, "I thought I'm gonna get jumped," or "I don't want to be in the sun too long because I look ugly dark." Or even, "Most black men aren't shit and are ghetto." She was raised by her mom, a white woman, and her stepdad, a white man. It might seem like useless information, but as someone who grew up around both sides, there's a very heavy racist tension that makes you feel ashamed of being black. I didn't like being dark for so long because I thought I looked ugly. But due to divorce, I went to my dad's side and learned to love myself no matter what shade I was. So I guess she has some internalized racism. Lastly, our room is so small that I could stretch my leg to her bed from my bed for reference. Our room has no AC and she eats stinky food in there. Everyone in the building goes to their kitchen's floor to eat or warm something up so their room doesn't stink, but she doesn't do it. It makes the room smell like a mixture of things. Our suite mate said something to both of us about it and how our room smells like garbage, and she tried to blame me, but a few minutes prior, I've seen her eating a bowl of noodles and seen it in the trash. That's when I decided I had enough, and wanted to talk to her about it. I took my friend Tony up there since he wanted to say something about the treatment she gives him. I let him since he doesn't like confrontation and would never do it if I wasn't there. So when we both went in, we brought it up. I can't remember verbatim what I said, but it was along the lines of, "Sarah, we need to talk. I really don't appreciate you touching my stuff and taking things without my permission. I also feel that lysoling the room makes it hard for me to breathe sometimes. I'm not trying to attack you or anything, but I wanted to let you know since it's been bugging me. I knew it was gonna go bad since she's a person who says she's gonna shoot other people randomly. Something I forgot to mention, which also makes me very uncomfortable. I should have listened to my past advice because she started yelling at me. I tried to keep it civil, saying I'm not trying to argue but communicate since we're living together, but she started to berate me and cursing at me. She told me that they all, her and the suite mates, talk about me and how I can't drive and made fun of me for it. That's when I told her that she's mad because she's broke and I have Bath & Body Works soap, just a joke, which drew a laugh from Tony. But she started to get even more upset and cursed at me and went to the suite mates crying. Tony, who's been standing near me when it happened, had a WTF face. I don't even blame him. But when I heard them talking about me from the other room, I had enough. I put up with her, walked 12 minutes to and 12 minutes back for water, and let her stick to me 24/7. And she talks about me behind my back when I treated her like a close friend. Kinda broke me. I took her stuff from my fridge and took her stuff from my side, which just freed a lot of space for me, and put it in her side. I told her we can just divide the room in half and we'll be fine. Just don't touch my stuff and I won't hers. For context, I let her have the bigger side, which she cluttered up, and still put her stuff on my side as well. After doing that, me and Tony went down to report it to the RA because I wanted all of this settled. The RA went up there and came back down 30 minutes later. They told me she left and went home for the weekend. I was disappointed since all I wanted was to talk and communicate. Not argue, but I was not guilty. I actually tried to communicate, but she started yelling and cursing. She has to learn that she can't treat people this way in the real world, and learn to communicate. So after the exchange with the RA, we went back to my room. When we went in, she broke my Bath & Body Works soap container, poured it in my bed and on my desk, where my chargers were. She even knocked over a cup I told her that I had since I was 3 for my birthday that I held close. I spent an hour cleaning the mess up, after my friend Tony took pictures of it. We went down again to report her for breaking my stuff and dumping it all over my bed. He told us that he couldn't do anything since she's gone, but some days had passed and it's Sunday. She hasn't come back yet. But she's gonna be back later today. So am I the a-hole for taking her stuff out? I need some real advice since I don't know what to do. And I'm also very worried about her being close to me when I'm asleep after this happened. Hellfreezer's note, yeah, your roommate's a psycho, you probably should be worried. You might want to see if you can request a roommate with someone who actually abides by the agreements, who actually has your requirements. She's obviously lied about what she was looking for in a roommate and her preferences and habits. That might help you. If that's documented, that would be good. But I definitely wouldn't trust her. I'd also consider possibly, as soon as you're able to live off campus, maybe getting a place with your friend. That would likely work out better for both of you. But for now, stay away from her. You didn't do wrong by moving her stuff. She had no business taking up your space. You've been far too accommodating here. And there is a recurring theme with a lot of these stories where someone does something wrong, you let it slide, they think that's okay, and then when eventually they're told it's not okay, they blow up. Stop telling people it's okay when they've done you wrong. Don't be aggressive about it, but don't let things sit. That's how resentments build up. I certainly hope it works out well for you, but I don't feel you're unjustified in being untrusting of your current psycho roommate. 3. I recently moved in with a friend I've known for a few years. Prior to moving in together, we hung out about once a week, or every other week. Things seemed great and I was excited to move in with a friend, someone who I knew decently well, but wasn't the best friend to avoid potential issues. I wonder if she's clingy or if I need to become used to living with a roommate again, after living alone for so long. What would you do? She is constantly asking me to hang out every single day. She is unemployed and follows me around the apartment, leaving her room when I leave mine to start a conversation or follow me around. I like talking with her, but have shared that my job working with special needs kids who are physically violent is challenging, and I often need time and space after work or when at home. When I say goodbye and try to walk away or stay but mention that I'm putting in headphones or calling a friend, quietly, the place is huge. If I'm in the kitchen, she can't hear me in the living room. She keeps talking to me after and starting new random conversations. She will watch me cook, clean, hang out, and comment on what I'm doing, even after I've mentioned I will be unavailable to chat because of whatever. She gives me a rundown of her plans for each hour of the day. She texts me most times she leaves and returns throughout the day. She asks about my plans and every detail down to the time I wake up, asking when she needs to be concerned. She often asks who and if my boyfriend will be there. Comments such as, "We are just so busy. I notice how much time you spend with your boyfriend." Mind you, he rarely comes over because she follows us around. When I say no to plans, and "Wow, party by night, work by day girl" if I arrive home late and leave early the next morning. She is constantly mentioning she has no money, but always inviting me to do things that cost my money or my things. For example, she texted me asking to have a popcorn night. She didn't ask to use mine. But she has none, and that is how it usually goes. When I leave the place for trips for the weekend, which I do frequently, she asks exactly when I will be leaving. I usually can give her a few hours window, but she wants to know the exact time and to send me off. I often want to leave when she wants to do something else and becomes anxious saying, "We gotta make this work, I would really like to send you off." Even when I thank her for her offer but decline as I need to be flexible with my dog, work, traffic, we seem to always go back and forth as my answer never changes. When I return, or even when I haven't traveled, we just hung out in a day or so, she will smile big and loudly say, "Oh my gosh, it's been 2 whole days since I've seen you." Last thing, she mentioned she doesn't want to be too controlling, but that she really hopes we can look out for each other. She mentioned that she'd like to know when I will be home late and where I am, so if something happens to me, she knows. She has asked that if she's not home or in bed by 10:30 each night, to sound the alarms and look for her. I will look out for her, but I would like to be able to have plans later than 10:30, and not have to be home to make sure she gets to bed. I shared this kindly, and she did look hurt. I've tried to schedule plans with her at the beginning of the week, as she clearly wants to spend time together. The problem is that she continues to ask to hang all week, even when she knows I'm busy or have plans. I don't know what to do. Willing to talk to her about it, and maybe she just seems like someone who needs a friend, I don't know. I hate to make this her issue if I need to adjust to having a roommate, but I feel like she might be clingy. Hellraiser's note, I hate to break this to you, but you have become her emotional support human. She's obviously someone who needs reassurance, she needs time and affection from another person. It's not fair to expect you to adjust your life to revolve around her. You've already said you're willing to hang out with her, you do like hanging out with her sometimes, but her expectations are unreasonable. You're her roommate, casual friend at best, you're not her romantic partner, and she seems to have demands that one would, quite frankly, would be a little bit unreasonable even from a romantic partner. You don't need to account for your presence, she doesn't need to know your comings or goings, she certainly doesn't need to be seeing you off. You've been gentle with her, it might be time to just be firm with her. Put up barriers, put up boundaries. Definitely don't be rude, but be firm. Just make it clear you're happy to be friendly, but she's smothering you with attention. I hope it works out for you, but you might want to see when that lease ends. and get out of there and make it clear that she will not be coming with you. Four. I'm 19 and female, and I want to share a story about my experience living with my roommate B, who was 24, also female. When I was 18, I moved in with her, and it was my first time moving in with someone I didn't know and living away from my family. Before moving in, we had a long conversation, and we seemed to get along well. She had shared that she has BPD, and I made a note of it in case of an emergency. Living with her for the first few weeks was fine. She was very caring, but slowly I started to notice that she was overbearing. I looked up to her until one evening when my boyfriend came over, whom I don't see very often, maybe once or twice a month. She asked if she could hang out with us, and I said yes. She had been having a very bad week, so I included her in our plans. We hung out with her the entire afternoon, playing games and whatnot. We decided to order some food. After the food came, my flatmate asked if we could all sit in the living room and eat together. Something about me is that I have some issues with food, or just my not-so-healthy relationship with it, and my flatmate is aware of this issue. So I prefer to eat in my room, but I never make a big deal about it and suck it up for my loved ones and just join them. So I took my laptop and connected my earphones so I could watch something while I ate and wouldn't disrupt our little gathering. And I still had a little space for myself. She insisted that we watch something together. I told her that she might not like what I was watching because I knew she wouldn't. She had told me that she hates sitcoms. She refused and said we should watch something. I disconnected my earphones and started to set my laptop up so we could all watch. But she insisted we watch on her iPad. She told me to put it on her iPad, but I wasn't sure if she'd like the YouTube video I was about to put on, because she has scolded me in the past while we were hanging out, telling me not to mess up her YouTube algorithm. Regarding that, I told her, let's just watch it on my device, as it's already on, and it would be too much hassle. What she did after that made me really mad. She made a very judgmental face with a smirk and said, between the lines, "It's not that important." I got off the chair and stormed to my room, which I agree was rude of me. My boyfriend came in and tried to calm me down, and later we left for a movie. On my way back from the movie, I brought her a cookie as a peace offering, because I planned on talking to her about what happened earlier, and how her behavior has been bothering me for a while now. When I talked to her, I told her that she had been acting very inconsiderately in the house, making me feel like I was a tenant living in her house. Every time, even if I picked a fork or a spoon, she'd just nag and question everything I did. She likes things done her way only, and that's unfair, because you can't enforce your likings on others. I told her how this place we live in doesn't feel like a home to me. She constantly nagged about how, despite having a good view from my room, I never opened my curtains. That day, I told her the reason why. Opening up the curtains makes me realize that I'm away from home, and homesickness hits very hard. When the curtains are closed, I feel secure and not out of place, and her constantly questioning my decisions was making me feel very alienated. Like I said, I looked up to her and I didn't want to upset her. I tried to ignore the things she did for the most part, but there's only so much a person could do. Only if I knew this was just the beginning of something worse to come, and this was just the tip of the iceberg. This was going to be the hell I'd have to endure for the next 1 year. Constantly overstepping my boundaries, being pushing, invading my space, in possible case of bombing. Since then, I have moved out and I'm living with my friend. I plan on making a series about my nightmare flatmate, who was very unpleasant to be around. This story is just the crumb of it. Update. I never confronted my former flatmate B about the issues I had with her behavior, and instead chose not to disclose the problems I experienced with her when I moved out. I was aware of her struggles with BPD and didn't want to add to her stress. However, I'm now bothered by the fact that she has created her own narrative about our living situation, and is sharing it with her current flatmate. which I knew was bound to happen, and it didn't bother me, until B's version of events has led her current flatmate to view me as a horrible friend for leaving her, and her current flatmate planned on confronting and lecturing me about it. I am aware of this because our households share a common house help, who has informed me about the conversations between her and her new flatmate. I am now unsure whether I should warn B's current flatmate about her behavior, as I am concerned about getting involved again. Hellfreezer's note: do not say a thing. This person has chosen to automatically think the worst about you instead of having a healthy skepticism, as would be reasonable when moving into any new flatting situation. So, stay quiet. Let them learn on their own, and once they've learned, then perhaps you can share some war stories. 5. I live in a shared PG sort of thing. It's not a proper hostel. The owners live downstairs, and there's one room and kitchen on the second floor. My roommate is literally a 26-year-old woman with a banking job. She has been staying in this PG for around 4.5 years now. Her fiancé lives here, and found this PG for her. The owner and her fiancé are good friends, which I did not know. There's this weird rule in this PG that we have to send photos of the space after cleaning every day. On asking why, I came to know this rule was made because of her, as she did not clean at all, and one day when the owner came up to see, the room was a mess, and there was literally vomit on the floor, which was not cleaned since days, and it had gotten stuck and the bathroom was dirty, and so on. Oh boy, I should have understood what I'm getting myself into. She is an extremely unhygienic person. She never cleans but still sends pictures that she has cleaned while I do all the work. She doesn't wash utensils for weeks and leaves them with dirty water filled. She never flushes properly. The whole space is filled with her belongings. I get the small cupboard and absolutely nothing. Her stuff is kept everywhere, taking all the space. She uses a cooler of her own, which she obviously doesn't share. She literally makes a tent sort of thing around her cooler, using her blanket to block any air coming towards me. I bought my own cooler, and she was a bitch about it. She didn't want to pay the increased electricity bill, but I should pay for her big cooler, which she only uses for herself. She misplaces and breaks my stuff and then lies about it. She broke my favorite coffee mug and did not accept it. This is just an example. The list goes on. She never cleans the bathroom. The drainage gets stuck with hairs, and of course, I have to clean it because she doesn't care. Talking about it with her always ends up in a fight. She lies so much, and oh my god, I do get angry and uncomfortable. Once she did not dispose her used pads for weeks, even after reminding her many times. I'm done with her now. I talked to the owner about her, and he said he'll come and have a talk. I was expecting him to be fair. I had all the proofs, and I clearly was not wrong here, but he tried to neutralize everything. He was taking her side. She lied so much and was a horrible person, said horrible things. The owner expects me to adjust a little. A little? I have been adjusting so much since so long. She's a terrible roommate. I told him I'm finding a new place. I came to know from the owner's mother that I am the 5th person who is leaving this PG because of her since she has come. She never pays the rent on time, breaks property and whatnot. She is also a terrible tenant. Auntie was like, "We'll ask her to leave this time, you stay." The owner also confirmed it. I was relieved, but it did not last long. She made up a story that she thought I am leaving, so she asked one of her office mates who was looking for a PG to come here. She confirmed it on behalf of the owner and even took a token amount, just forgot to inform the owner. What kind of nonsense is this? It is ridiculous. But guess who believed her? Yes, the owner. He was like, the office mate of hers has informed her prior PG that she's leaving now. The token money is also taken. This owner has all the reasons to ask her to leave. His family wants her to leave, but he's still not doing it. Why? Because of her fiancé. The owner and her fiancé are good friends. and he cannot do this to him, which she knows and takes full advantage of. I confronted the owner about it, and he accepted he is unfair, and cannot be fair because of his friendship. Oh God, what the hell did I get myself into? I told him to at least be clear. I was leaving, and he asked me to stay. Please inform all the future coming tenants too about the whole scene with your dear friend and her fiancé tenant of yours. I was in so much distress all these months I stayed here, not a moment of peace. I am finally leaving this place, but I kind of feel angry about it all and wanted to rant. Thank you for listening. Hey everybody, Hellfreezer here, and thank you very much for listening to Bad Roommates episode 30. And thank you very much to everybody who allowed me to use their stories in this video. Before you go, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. I really like it when you do that. Makes me happy. Makes YouTube happy. So why not make us both happy? And if you'd like early access to the videos, you can do that by getting it through my Patreon page and possibly memberships. I might have them active by this time. I just need to figure out how to make them available for Patreon and for memberships. There's got to be a way. You'll also find links in the description to the Hellfreezer merchandise store as well as my Discord server. And you can leave a tip by clicking on the heart with the $sign underneath the video player. None of that's required though, but I do appreciate it. Okay. Let's see. No other bits of business today. I don't think of any shout-outs. No, the next one's October, I believe. So, let's move along to Hellfreezer's question of the day. And today's question is... And today's question comes from Ashley via the Discord server. When does spooky season start for you? I start around mid-July, but Shigar, that's her fiancé, says it's about 4 days before Halloween. Well, spooky season never ends for me, that's just a lifestyle. That's kind of what I lean towards. I lean towards like sci-fi, horror. Those are the genres I'm most into. And they make me the happiest. I'm the most entertained. But other answers are allowed, apparently. Let me know what you think in a comment below. And before we go, let's take a look at the answer of the day from a previous video. And this comes from Bad Roommates 29 and was about your favorite kind of hot chocolate. Today's answer comes from Emerald Angel. And they say, I buy this brand of hot chocolate called Abuelitas. It usually comes in a compressed brick you can break off pieces and melt. It's my absolute favorite, as it has hints of cinnamon in it. It also comes in powder, but I prefer the brick. Thank you very much for your answer, Emerald Angel. And with that, I'm gonna head off for now and record more stories, because that's what we do here on a Monday. So until next time, thank you very much for listening, and take very good care of yourself.